In this video, we'll be looking at the MatrixSpiral interview question in JavaScript. My name is Larry, and this is Digital Logic. To get started, you'll need to download the project from GitHub. The link is in the description below. I've also provided a link to the introduction video to the series, which will walk you through setting up your development environment. With that out of the way, let's get started. So I've already got the project open in IntelliJ, so I'll open up the project browser, and then open the MatrixSpiral.js file. For this challenge, you need to write a function that will return an n-by-n matrix that spirals clockwise, starting at position 0, 0 with the value of 1, and ending with the value of n squared. The following examples demonstrate the expected output for the provided input. Once you have a solution that you're ready to test, open up a terminal. In VS Code, the shortcut is Ctrl-tilde, and then type npm test MatrixSpiral, and then press enter. And as you can see, the current solution is failing the test. The testing framework will test any function that you include in the module.exports list, so you can provide multiple solutions, and the testing framework will test all of them. If you want to attempt to solve this problem without any hints, then pause the video now. When trying to solve a problem like this, one possible approach that you can take is the DIY approach. The idea behind this is to first solve the problem on paper, and then take that logic and transform it into code. We need to start by creating an example, and we need the example to be large enough so that we can see the types of problems that we'll run into, but small enough where it's easy to maintain. A 3x3 grid isn't large enough because we won't have to deal with the inner loop, but a 4x4 grid is perfect. So I'll start by creating a 4x4 grid, which will serve as our two-dimensional array. In JavaScript, a two-dimensional array is nothing more than an array of arrays. To access any one point within the grid, you have to use two array accessors. The first one defines which inner array to access. This is the row, or the y-axis. The second one defines which element within the inner array. This defines the column, or the x-axis. This is probably opposite to what you're used to, but in a 2D array, the y-axis is specified first, followed by the x-axis. With that out of the way, let's start filling in this matrix. So I'll start at position 0, 0 and fill in the value of 1, and then move to position 0, 1 and fill in the value of 2, and then move to position 0, 2 and fill in 3, and finally move to 0, 3 and then fill in 4. We could create a simple for loop to fill in this top row, and then create another for loop to fill in the right column, followed by the bottom row and left column. But how can we make it work for the inner loop? The problem is what to set as the start and stop positions for the loops. It's mostly limited to what has already been filled in. For instance, when filling in the right column, we would start at position 1, 3, because the top row has already been filled in. To solve this, I'm going to create 4 new variables to function as boundaries: top, bottom, left, and right. These variables will provide the start and stop positions for our loops. So we'll start at the top left corner, defined by the top left boundary, and then move to the right until we hit the right boundary. When the top row is filled in, we move the top boundary down. The top and bottom boundaries now define the start and stop positions to fill in the right column. When the right column is filled in, we move the right boundary. We continue this process until the grid is filled in. That is it for your hint, so go ahead and pause the video now and try to solve this challenge. When you're ready to continue, come back here and we'll walk through the solution. Welcome back. So I'll start by creating a new constant, grid equals, and I need to create an array with n number of arrays within it. There are quite a few different ways to create an array in JavaScript with a set number of elements within it. For this challenge, I'm going to use the array.from method. This method will create a new array from an array-like object. For the first parameter, I'm going to pass in a new object with the length property set to the value of n. So a simple object with a length property counts as an array-like object. This will create an array with n elements. The second parameter to the array.from method allows us to define a mapping function. And in this function, I'm just going to return a new array and then pass in n as a single parameter. This will create a new array object where the length property is set to n, but it won't actually create an array with n elements. So to finish the job, I'll call .fill, then pass in the value of 0. This line will give me a n by n two-dimensional array, all initialized to the value of 0. And now create some boundary variables. Let top equal 0, left equal 0, right equal n minus 1, and then bottom equal n minus 1. And now create an index variable set to the value of 1. This will maintain the count within the matrix. And then create a constant max equals n times n. We're going to need to create an outer loop that will walk through each layer within the matrix, but I don't want to create it right now. So for now, I'll just add some curly brackets. Create a for loop to walk through the top row. Let I equal left, while I is less than or equal to right, and then increment I. And now grid at top and at I equals index plus plus. Because the plus plus is after the variable, this is a post increment. What that means is that the current value of the index will be assigned to this grid position, and then the value within the index will be incremented. Once this for loop completes, then we need to increment the top variable. Now we need to fill in the right column, so create another for loop, and this time let I equal top. Set the execution condition to while I is less than or equal to bottom, and then increment I. And now grid at I and right equals index plus plus, and then decrement the right variable. Now moving on to the bottom row, create another for loop, let I equal right, set the execution condition to while I is greater than or equal to left, and then decrement I. This time it's going to be grid at bottom, I equals index plus plus. And now decrement the bottom variable. And now the left column, let I equal bottom, while I is greater than or equal to top, and then decrement I. And then grid at I and left equals index plus plus, and then increment the left variable. And now let's define the outer loop. I'm going to make this a while loop. While index is less than or equal to max. And then finally, we need to return the grid from this function. All right, that is it for this solution. So go ahead and save the file and then open up the console to view the test results. And it is passing the test. Well, that is it for this video. If you like this video, then please like, share, subscribe. If you want to support the creation of these videos, then check out my Patreon page. A link is in the description. And I'll see you in the next video.